Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. People, this the intro.
Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down. Bear down.
All right, Bears fans, we have a very special guest today on Keek on the mic. He goes by Swift Sports. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Just like I said before we started this episode, I was like, you're just a constant Chicago Bears content creator, grinder. Out of everyone, I might have to give you a lot of props. Absolutely love what you do. And I'm very appreciative of you coming on and taking some time to come on Keek on the mic today.
Awesome, man. Yeah, people have been telling me to come on the show for a while, so I had to come by, man. I'm just always super busy, but I'm glad I had some time to come on today.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say is like my listeners, your listeners, we all have the same listeners, right? And like you need to do a collab with Swift Sports Network. And at first I didn't even know really who you were. And then I checked out your stuff. I'm like, man, this dude is absolutely legit. I'm really happy we can squeeze out some time.
Hell yeah, man. It's good. It's good to be on. What do you have in mind to talk about today?
So first things first, with the season starting this week against the Green Bay Packers, what is your excitement level on a scale of 1 to 10 for the Chicago Bears season?
Man, probably at above 10. I'd say like 15 or 20. I haven't been this excited about a season since probably 2007, the year after the Super Bowl, when I thought we were going back. But
right.
I'm excited. I mean, my expectations aren't that high. I'm not at Super Bowl level, but my excitement might be above Super Bowl level because I just want to see this team play so bad, because this offseason and everything we've been through as Bears fans, it's been so long that we're just ready to win a couple. We're just ready to just beat Green Bay. Just get that first game out of the way and we'll be happy for a bit.
I say this every single year, not only to my dad, but to a bunch of Bears fans. The Bears can go 2-15, but if those 2 wins are against the Packers, I think we wouldn't be happy, but we would be happy we swept the Packers, right? So
yeah, I mean, last year I think we'd be a little bit happy if we would have won 2 games and still got that first pick, but both our wins would have been at Green Bay. I think fans wouldn't have been as mad. They would have been like, we beat the Packers,
Yeah, that's all that matters, right? So yeah, obviously this is the week 1 of the season. A lot of anticipation for the Chicago Bears overall season. Justin Fields, the excitement around him. So today on the podcast, Swift and I are going to be giving bold predictions for the Chicago Bears season and kind of just going back and forth talking about some bold predictions. I know a lot of people don't like bold predictions, but I like to give predictions for the season. And see if they actually come true. Sometimes we can manifest these things, right? So first things first, my first bold prediction for the Chicago Bears, that the Bears will have a top 15 defense. I feel that Ryan Poles has done enough. I know he's still working and building on that defensive side of the football, but he's done enough to make this unit a whole lot better. Guys with Yannick Ngakoue, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, the secondary looks legit this season. I feel like Ryan Poles has done enough to see improvement from the Chicago Bears this season. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, man, I feel like I don't usually put a number on it, but top 15 sounds like a realistic expectation. If our pass rush can come through, I think the key to the season is stopping the run, and they put a lot into it. They even cut some defensive ends. I like this preseason for some guys who stop the run better because they're focused. They want the edges. They want to contain the edges and force the runs up the middle and the pass rush so that the defensive tackles can collapse the pocket. And we'll see how it goes. It's an interesting approach. And if our defensive line can play up to, because the back 7, I'm not really worried about. I love our linebackers. I love our corners and our safeties. It's all about the defensive line. So if they can get some pressure on the quarterback and stop the run, it's going to be a good defense.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you about that front defensive line, right? If they can improve, it's going to be a lot easier for our secondary to improve as well. Who are you most excited about on this defense this year?
Oh, man, I really want to see Gervon Dexter. I'm a huge fan of this guy. I know he's not going to start right off the bat, but his potential, he can play anywhere on the defensive line. He can play either tackle spot. You can even put him at edge, and his size, length, and burst off the line, he's gonna cause some damage. I can't wait to see that guy. He's also got a good story. You can't watch his video of him getting drafted without getting a little bit emotional. And then my favorite thing about him, they asked him after the preseason what his favorite play was, and he talked about Zach Pickens and Travis Bell's sacks. He's a guy who's not selfish, and he's going to help this team. I think he's going to be one of the best players on this defense for the next 5-10 years.
I definitely agree. And I know it's a sore subject with the defense last season, only having 20 sacks, right, as a unit. Do you think they're going to exceed those expectations this year?
I mean, I think we should easily get more than 20 sacks. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes sacks are a thing that's it's kind of tough. They're a weird number. So you want the pressures on the quarterbacks. If you're getting
Right.
pressures and those are leading to interceptions or
Right.
incompletions or however it works, as long as we're getting pressure on the quarterback, that's all I care about.
Yeah, personally for me, I'm really excited to see Tyreek Stevenson. The dude has a dog mentality already. You saw it during this preseason. I think he was the perfect pick for Ryan Poles in this defense. I think I have high expectations for the Bears defense this year.
Oh yeah, man. Tyreek is a guy. He's a baller, man. His confidence. I think he's a guy who could be a leader on this team and could be a number one cornerback in this league. He's a little handsy right now. He's very physical, and he might get flagged a couple of times
Yeah,
this year, but he's going to let teams are going to know he's there. He's physical with receivers. He's physical in the run game, and he's in their face. And as a rookie, he's going to let these guys know that he's not scared. So I like it.
absolutely. Overall, you and I are excited about the Bears defense. I know Chicago Bears fans overall are excited about this Bears defense. But my bold prediction number 2 for us today on the podcast, and this is obviously one of my favorite ones, is Justin Fields will account for 40 total touchdowns and 3,500 plus total yards. I know Justin Fields came out and said he wants to throw for 4,000 yards. I'm not trying to put those expectations on him just yet, but I think it is realistic. 3,500 total yards is realistic, and 40 total touchdowns is also realistic. I do want to bring up a stat. This is from last year, and it's basically the 7-game stretch where the Bears offense looked really, really good, and Justin Fields also looked really good against playoff teams like the Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, and Bills. He had 11 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 interception, 216 yards per game, a 62.6 completion percentage, and a little bit over 1,500 total yards. So I see a massive leap from Justin Fields, and I think it has a lot to do with us adding a number 1 wide receiver in DJ Moore.
Yeah, man, that's a huge one. And a couple stats about DJ. I mean, second in the NFL the last 10 years in contested catch rate. I mean, 1.7% drop rate. This is a guy who he's just going to come in, and a lot of people don't think he's a number 1 because of his size.
Right.
But he's that same size as Stephon Diggs, and he can go up and get the ball. He can beat man coverage. He can beat zone coverage. I cannot wait to see DJ in this offense. He's the biggest thing. I think DJ is going to his presence alone on the offense is going to allow everyone else to step up, like Chase Claypool and Mooney and Kmet, the run game, Justin Fields. It all goes hand in hand, and I can't wait to see it.
And that's the conversation that my dad and I have all the time. It's like, okay, defenses are going to try to stop DJ Moore, but then it's like, okay, how about Chase Claypool, Tyler Scott, Darnell Mooney, Robert Tonyan, Cole Kmet? We can go on and on and on. This is the most weapons we've had in a long time. And another thing I'm really looking forward to is the yak yardage. We haven't had a receiver that can just take a screen and take it 62 yards in a long time. And I keep bringing up a stat that Patrick Mahomes had 5,200 yards, and 2,800 of those yards were yak yardage. It's really important. Yak yardage is really important.
And I think a big part of that is these offensive linemen we have is Poles values that athleticism. And a lot of people don't realize it early on, but when you see these guys downfield 10, 15, 20 yards downfield blocking, it's good to see. And it's even guys other than DJ Moore are going to do damage on screen passes. And you saw Khalil Herbert do it too in the preseason. And that's just exciting.
Right. So Swift, I'm not sure if you're a really big expectation guy, but what is your expectation for Justin Fields? Will you go as far as saying that he can be an MVP candidate?
Oh yeah, I think he can. If he stays healthy, I think he's capable of being one of the best players in the entire NFL. It's all about staying healthy, and this year is about taking the next step. So MVP expectations, I don't want to put those on him yet, but in the future, yes, he's a guy who I see potentially being in the MVP race multiple times throughout his career. So yeah, he has that kind of ceiling. All he has to do is just put it together with the passing game this year. And I expect that kind of Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen leap. I expect that same thing for him this year. And then by next season, people are just going to be talking about him in the MVP race just casually.
Right. It's just interesting to me because I think MVP sometimes is more of a team thing, right? You know, I think Jalen Hurts I think he had a great season, don't get me wrong, but I think it's because of the team that he had around him. I personally feel like if Justin Fields had a better team around him last year, you could have probably considered Justin Fields MVP candidate last year in some
got an MVP
token, right?
vote, man.
He did. He did get an MVP vote. So I think if the Bears had a better record, Justin Fields definitely would have been in that conversation. But I definitely agree with you. But if you can give me a stat prediction, what would be a solid stat prediction for Justin Fields this year?
I want to see him pass for over 3,000 yards. I think
Okay.
that's the one we want to see first. And then the next one after that would be 4,000 yards.
Okay.
And then I just want to see him. I think the biggest one for me is completion percentage. I want to see him, if he can complete 70% of his passes this year, the rest of the numbers are going to come. And
Right.
he already throws the ball deep downfield. I actually probably want to see him rush a little bit less.
Yeah.
Maybe scramble less, maybe a couple designed runs here and there, especially in the red zone. It's almost too dangerous when we're at the 3-yard line, having Justin Fields run a sweep with the running back as an extra blocker. It's almost cheating. So you got to do that sometimes, but I don't want to see him carrying the ball or rushing for 1,000 yards. I want to see him throwing for 3,000 to 4,000 yards. That's what I want to see this year.
Absolutely. And like I said, there's so much excitement around Justin Fields. And I keep saying on the podcast all the time that this is the most excitement that we've seen in Chicago in a long time around the quarterback. And I feel like Justin Fields has the opportunity to be the biggest Chicago sports star since Michael Jordan.
Exactly, man. I mean, I think he's already there with like Derrick Rose as far as how excited. And I have a lot of people on my channel tell me like they didn't even watch Bears football for a while.
Right.
And like Justin Fields and the excitement level that he's brought and what Ryan Poles has done to this team, they're back and excited and more excited than they've been since the 80s. So it's a fun time to be a Bear fan. And I think the people out there that are still being negative, I don't know how, not this week. I mean, if we lose next week, half the fan base is they're gonna jump off the bridge and say the season's over and we got to trade Justin Fields and he's a bust. But it's still just one game, and I'm so excited with the direction of the entire franchise.
Yeah, for sure. I agree on all your points as well. I'm excited time to be a Bears fan, and I really definitely feel like we have a quarterback in Justin Fields. So my final bold prediction for the Chicago Bears this season is that the Bears will, in fact, make the playoffs. Once again, going back, I feel like Ryan Poles has done enough to this team to make a wild card playoff, right? I'm not saying 1 or 2 seed or winning the division. I'm saying the Bears have enough to be a wild card team this year.
Oh, yeah, man. I agree with that as well. I think the division's going to be tough. It's going to be a 3-team race. I don't see the Packers being in it. I'll knock on wood just in case. But I think it's going to be the Vikings, Lions, and Bears. And it's coming down to that. And the team that doesn't win the division, they're at least going to be fighting for a wild card, in my opinion. Is it guaranteed that the Bears are going to be in the wild card? No, but are they most likely? If Justin Fields stays healthy, I don't see any way we're not at least competing and playing meaningful games down the stretch. Now, if we lose those games, maybe they don't make the wild card, but I think the Bears make the playoffs. I've already put a bet on it on DraftKings, so
a lot of people have put a lot of bets on the Bears, not only in Justin Fields win MVP, but for us to make the playoffs as well. Some people have already made Super Bowl bets on the Chicago Bears. That's bold right there, right? But
I mean, I put a $5 bet on it. You got to, because if they win and you don't, then I'm just gonna look silly.
Yeah, you're gonna be hitting the wall, hitting the air right after that happens, right? So I definitely agree. I think Detroit is going to be tough. A lot of respect for what they have done over there. They're a young and upcoming team as well. I feel like the Minnesota Vikings are still good. I think this is the last chance.
I feel like they got to do something at quarterback.
Yeah,
I expected them to be the team that traded for Trey Lance. Actually, I thought he could have learned from Kirk Cousins a little bit there and maybe been their future. But it's just going to be weird to see where they go, because at some point they don't have a guy on the roster, so they're either gonna they're gonna keep paying Kirk and wait until they bottom out and can draft a quarterback, or they're gonna have to trade a bunch of picks and move up 1 year in the draft. And it's going to be wild.
I know they were in on Justin Fields a couple years back. They really wanted Fields as well.
They didn't get him.
Yeah, I'm so glad that didn't happen, right? But overall, I'm with you. I feel like the division is wide open. I think every division game is going to be important, as always. And I feel like the Bears have a legit shot to hopefully win the division. But if they don't, I still think they can compete for a wild card spot as well. And I think going with that on that point, I think that would bring so much momentum going into that next year as well if we do make the playoffs, because people forget that we still have 2 first-round picks in next year's draft. So we're only going to continue to get better.
Man, Yeah, and that's another reason. I mean, we got two things to root for this year. It's not just the Bears winning, but also
Right.
the Panthers losing, and it's a fun thing to be in.
Right.
It's weird because in other years we usually don't even have first round picks. So at the end of the year, even if you're not in the playoffs, you're like, I don't have anything to root for because we don't
Right.
have a pick, and if we win, it doesn't matter because we don't make the playoffs anyway, and it can put you in weird. This year, it's just going to be awesome watching. I
Yeah.
can't wait.
And how perfect is that? Is that we actually play the Carolina Panthers as well. So I know that's a big game for Ryan Poles and the Bears as well. We got to beat the Panthers. My cousin actually plays for the Panthers. Shaq Thompson. I think I'm going to reach out.
Cousins with Shaq. Yo, that's an athlete. Yeah. That's a guy that Ryan Poles would have liked if he was here when the Bears were drafted. That's an athletic, freakish linebacker, man.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure to message him before the game, like, hey, try to get in his head a little bit.
Hey, no, don't piss him off, man. You see how these people for some reason in preseason when I was watching the tape of Ed Oliver, like he was trying to kill Justin Fields. I was like, right, bro, calm down.
It's just preseason, right? So. I just find that so interesting. Like you said, it's going to be a huge season, but I truly believe that this is a realistic thing that can actually happen to Bears making the playoffs, and just so much excitement around the team. Can you give me a record prediction of what you think the Bears can actually be at this year? Like maybe like a ceiling and a floor?
Yeah, I think it's between 7 and 11 games. Like I would say, I mean, obviously if the team gets devastated by injuries, knocking on wood again, things can happen. But if this team stays at least relatively healthy, I don't see them winning less than 7 games.
Okay.
And then I think there's a ceiling. They can win 11, possibly. I think 11 is probably the realistic ceiling. Seeing them win more than that would be pretty crazy. They'd have to get hot, but it mostly because the team is so young.
Right.
And there's still a lot of players that have to gel. Like our offensive line hasn't really played together yet. Our defensive line hasn't played together much. Even our secondary, like Brisker and Eddie Jackson, have been banged up a bit in camp. So it might take us a little bit of time to click. We got to play the Chiefs early in the season. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, these guys have a ton of potential. And I could see them especially if Fields takes the leap I expect. I could see 11 games in the division being the ceiling, and that's what they want to do. I could even see Ryan Poles, if an opportunity presents itself and he doesn't have to give up a first-round pick, but he can trade a second or third and add a player that helps the team this year at the trade deadline. I think Poles is willing to do that because he has the extra. Everyone's like, oh, he doesn't trade draft picks. It's like he just traded a draft pick last year for Claypool. If an opportunity is there and he can get a guy that's young and can help this team, he will bring him in. And I think especially if we're at the trade deadline, I think that's week 8 usually. So if we've won 4 or 5 games by that point, Poles might be willing to do something. So it's just going to be, it's really exciting time to be a Bears fan. Chicago's a Bears city. So it's just really fun right now, man.
Yeah, I always say, like, if the Bears win 1 Super Bowl, it's going to be bigger than Michael Jordan's 6 rings.
Honestly, I mean, it's huge. I mean, everyone from the 85, I mean, anyone from that team, they don't buy beer in Chicago. They're legends, like their whole life from winning the Super Bowl once. And I think that's what Poles has brought in with a lot of these guys. If you watch that, there was an interview on the Bears' actual YouTube channel where they interviewed Sanborn and all the local guys. And they said it like, if you win in Chicago just once, you're a legend here for life. And those guys know that. And, they're telling that to the other people. And that's the culture we're looking for. And man, it gives me goosebumps how excited I am with this team right now.
Yeah, like right when this morning hit, I figured out it's Monday, right? I'm like, it's game week. It's Packers week. It's just chill,
not eating cheese all week.
Yeah, I agree. No cheese all week, Bears fans, right? And it's just like, on Sunday, once Sunday hits, I'm going to wake up at 6:30 in the morning. I'm going to be pacing back and forth. I know we don't play in my time until 1, but I am just so pumped.
We don't play. Where you live at? You live West Coast?
I live in California.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I was like, it's a 3:00 game. Okay.
Yeah. 1 o'clock for me. So,
okay. Yeah.
Man, I am just so excited for Justin Fields, for this Bears defense, for this overall team. They have so much potential. I'm with you. I think it's 11, 12 wins. I don't think they lose any more than 7. I think they can have 7 wins. That's the floor for me as well. So
awesome, my man. Awesome.
But I do appreciate you coming on so much. I'm finally so happy that we finally got this collab. I know Bears fans been wanting it for a while, so hopefully this makes them happy. To start Green Bay Bears week, right?
Yep. FGB in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do appreciate you coming on. And as always, bear down to you.
Hey, bear down, brother.
You've been listening to Keek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.